to go.
So how many people
Beautiful.
normally come?
Oh, it varies. Sometimes it's half a dozen or so. And I'd love to see, 10 or 12 every week. So hello, everyone. If you're seeing this in the replay, I'm Susan Morrow Johnson, AKA Mojo Medium. Welcome to Woo Wednesdays, which is our discussion group, hot seat coaching group, and like mutual support and woo stuff group. That's what we're doing today. And I have one guest live today. Her name is Adele. Adele, would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name is Adele Bernard. My company is Transition Clarity, and I am a transition mentor, or better known as the House Whisperer. So I help people clear out the energetic stuck energy that's holding them back from who and where they want to be. So it's about getting out of your head, dropping into your heart, and shining your light like no one else can shine.
Wow. I did not know that. I don't know. It was not in my head. I mean, I know we've only met briefly one time, but
Yeah.
wow, that is fantastic. And so it's all about the energy of your space and your
Yeah.
environment. Okay.
Um, it's kind of like there's no point going having a spa day and then walking into your home of chaos.
Yes, yes,
So let's
exactly.
make
Yes. So
your
part
home
of
your
self-care.
spa. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's yeah, like no matter what's happening, like especially now after the last 4 years, our houses are so confused because they're not sure if they're a workplace, a gym, a school. What are we?
Yes. Yes, that's a very
And
good point. Yeah, and I know that I've heard that in feng shui and also in psychology, I think that your bed and your bedroom should be for sleeping and making love. And
Mhm.
that's it. That you shouldn't have a TV, you shouldn't be reading, nothing else should go on in
Well,
there.
if you are reading, it has to be a book,
Yes, a book, not a screen.
not a tablet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And what you just said uh, brings up my concept of self-care, what I call mojo self-care,
Hmm.
means not just going for the spa day or uh, wine on the porch, but it means building the kind of life that supports you so that
Hmm.
you don't run screaming into the night or that you don't come home Friday afternoon like, where's the wine and where's the bubble bath? And send the kids off to grandma's because I got to have a break. If you have the kind of life that you feel calm and supported
Hmm.
all the time, then yes, that's a treat to have a glass of wine, but it's not a mandatory thing. It's not something that you just are like, thank God, I get to have a break.
Well, and it falls into that. Am I having it for pleasure or am I having it for addiction?
Well, yes, that's true as well.
Right.
I can
And
see
that's
how
the slippery
having
slope.
having the energy of your environment to be supportive of you in that way so that when you come home it feels like home, it feels welcoming, it feels supportive, it feels peaceful,
Hmm.
and of course that does, you can take the animals and the people into account as well, but you work on the energy of the space, and I'm betting that with what you do that the people and their relationships change as well.
Hmm.
They improve because of the support of the space. Is that right?
Well, and it's funny, I've gotten clients in the strangest ways. Um, because like the dog will call me in and then I'll be
Really?
like, okay, who are you? Who's your mom and dad? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, like they're in front of me. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
or when I used to work corporate and like corporate was very hard for me because I'm such an empath. And I'd be like, oh, this team, they're just not listening. So I just put it in their calendar that they got a reminder every hour on the hour to breathe.
Brilliant.
And they'd be like, can I get this off? No, not until you guys calm down and stay in your bodies.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't
Not
work.
until I'm seeing improvement.
Yeah, right.
The breathing will continue until morale improves.
Yeah. But
Twist
I
on
mean,
that old
but the
joke.
but the thing is that um especially in America, um there's so many people on CPAP machines because no
Mhm.
one's breathing.
Oh,
We're
that's
breathing from our
interesting.
collarbone up.
Yes, yes,
And
not
then when
belly
you,
breathing.
well, yeah, and then when you say to do deep breath, like some older people are actually cracking ribs because they've never taken a breath in their life.
Wow.
And so that's why the like add on the fact like um people aren't breathing, so then they're not sleeping, so then they're extra tired and they're human doings instead of human beings.
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
you put the chaos of the house and you're like, well, come on,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm saying let's reverse all that. And like I had one client who I was working on her house and I was like, something happened at 3. Like this is a woman who's been married 25 plus years, like, right?
Like at age 3 or at 3 p.m. or what?
No, at age 3. So she says,
Age
oh, well,
3.
let's see if mom's around. And so she phoned her mom and her mom goes, oh, nothing like, yeah, you hurt yourself, but it's not a big deal. Well, once she knew that incident happened, it cleared in her house, it cleared in her body. 2 weeks later, she phoned me and she says, do you know I have no hip pain? I've had hip pain my whole entire life. But she didn't realize she had hip pain until it went away.
Right, right. Something that she just lived with because it was just
And
every day
and
since she
she
was very
carried
young.
it to every house.
Uh-huh. Took it with
This
her.
happened within her family house as a 3-year-old. She's now married for 25 plus years in her
And
marriage
in her
house.
own home. Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
still dumped in the new
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, that is amazing, isn't it? I
Yeah.
remember years ago, I used to live in Austin, Texas for a long time. And I this was back in the olden days when we met in person.
Yeah.
And not just pre-pandemic, but yeah, like all the way back at the beginning of this century. But I knew a couple of feng shui practitioners, and one of them told me a story about uh, a couple who in their house
Mhm,
they had a large portrait of the man's mother.
mhm.
And so, okay, I've got a picture of my dad, whatever. But they had it stored under their marital bed, facing up. And so their sex life was suffering.
Yeah.
And so she said, when we took that out, it helped them a lot.
Yeah.
And that you might think, well, so what? It's just a picture or whatever. But it's what it symbolizes in your mind.
Mhm,
Even if you're not thinking about it, it's in there.
mhm.
And that's one of the things that she told me about clearing clutter, that things that are stuck in the back of a drawer, in the attic or whatever, some little piece of your mind knows that's there, is spending energy on that.
Mhm.
And that's a great reason to clear it out. So tell me,
Well, and I
yeah, go
just
ahead.
want to clarify, um, I am not a feng shui practitioner.
That was my next question. Do you do
Okay.
feng shui? Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So you're an
so
empath and an
so
energy healer.
so if when I'm clearing a house, like I'm looking at the ley lines, I'm looking at um energy that's stuck in the house from like disagreements and positive things. So it's not all negative. It's could be positive. It can
Mhm.
be from if you're in a new build area, like what did the construction guy having a bad day left in the cement, right? Like it's so much deeper than feng shui. And if my guides say move the couch, I tell you to move your couch. If you move it, that's up to you. I don't really care. It's up
Right.
to
And
you, right? It's
it
making
is,
the space for you to thrive.
yes, it's a prescription customized for that person and
Yeah.
for their home.
Yeah.
It's not based on, the Bagua and the sections and
Yeah.
okay. So I
Yeah.
understand that.
And I
Um,
mean, I've had clients even say like after clearing, it'd be like, it's like the window washers came and they painted my house.
yeah, yeah. It just
Because they're
feels,
like
it feels good.
it's like a different cleaning, right? Like we all say, oh, I gotta do some spring cleaning everything out, like get all the stuff that you don't do every week.
Hmm, hmm.
And so I say it's like a really deep spring cleaning of the energy that your
And the
house has
energy
held,
level.
right?
Yeah,
For however many,
brilliant.
yeah.
So you mentioned about how this is turning into you're co-hosting and I'm interviewing you. I love this. So you said that the woman took the hip pain with her from house to house
Hmm.
all her life. And
Hmm.
now I'm thinking, so we're about to move. We're getting ready to move to Illinois. I don't know if you know where that is. I'm sure you know
Yeah.
where Texas is, because those who are watching the replay, Adele lives in Canada. So I don't expect anybody to know anything about America except you know where Texas is. So, and you probably know to say howdy, y'all. Um, so we're getting ready to move. So I'm taking from what you're saying that our experiences here are likely to influence our new space.
It can. Like,
Okay.
for instance, for that client, it was an emotion that was stuck that she didn't even realize she was having because at
There's
3,
too little to remember. Yeah.
right? Like, and and so I know I was given this gift at 3. So, um, you know a lot more than adults will ever understand at those
Hmm.
younger ages. And so I'm not saying all things will move with you, but you do hold that container of what do we want to come into our new home? And this is where like realtors used to use me a lot because they'd say this is their gift back to their client. Clear the energy of the old people that were in the home so your energy can move in,
Okay. So why don't you
right?
work with realtors now?
Because somewhere along the way, they went into fear.
Oh,
They
okay.
went in, I don't have the money to
Hmm.
pay for this for my client. Then the governments, both Canadian and American governments, are saying you can't gift over or whatever to your clients
Oh,
for buying a
yeah.
house.
Taxes and
And I
stuff.
just went, eh. And at
Yeah.
that time, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like I was so entrenched into corporate and I was letting this go. And then I wasn't allowed to, as you know, as a medium, like mm, what
Yeah.
we think we don't want to do and what spirit says we're doing are sometimes not aligned
Often
for a
two different
while.
things. Right. Right, that's true. And I want to talk a little bit about that. In fact, today's topic that I choose a topic ahead of time and then we see where it goes. And so it's not always the same. But today's topic that I chose was pre-life planning on the other side. And so that comes into this because of what you said, what spirit has in mind for you and what you have in mind may be different. And so I look at it like this. Your soul is a piece of the all the energy of the universe, a piece of all that is, so that what however you think of that, and I may have to start using the word essence or something, but it's like
Yep.
what makes you you, that's
Yep.
not your physical body,
Yep.
is a part of all that is. Okay, so we have a subconscious, we have a consciousness, we have a brain, and we have the energy of the universe. So your brain and the universe, I call that your Bruniverse. They don't know the difference between the truth and a lie.
Yep.
And they don't know whether you are observing,
Yep.
experiencing, remembering, or imagining.
Yep.
They don't know. And
No.
so, what they do know, though, is that if something is not familiar,
Mm-hmm.
then your subconscious mind will go, danger, 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 Will Robinson, because um, the way it works biologically is to keep us safe by keeping us in what's familiar. And that's very handy when you are a caveman and you see the saber-toothed tiger eat some other guy, Og from next door, and you remember, oh, that is not safe. Yeah,
Well,
that's that. But even if it's familiar, that's familiar. I'm not going to go for that. So it keeps you in what is familiar and you're staying away from the danger. If you see something that's new and different, that's most likely to come up as danger. And so we have to consciously override that, especially because spirit, Bruniverse, soul, essence has your soul's goals are always there, always vibing.
mm-hmm.
And so what happened with me, and this may be what happened with you,
Mm-hmm.
was I got ding, the universe kicked me out. Okay. So, and this has happened to me more than once. And I've finally figured it out. If you're aligned with your soul's goals, then things go well. And if you're not, then things don't go as well. So, if, for example, I had a job that I loved and I was very good at, but I had been asking myself and God, universe, higher self, are these the talents that I'm meant to share with the world? And I was feeling the tug of fate. And this was more than 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah, I'm 60. Um, so I was feeling the tug of fate. That's what I call it. It felt like the tug of fate. Like I was like, what am I missing? What is, because I liked my job. I was good at it. I had the talent for it. I had staff under me, and I didn't even have to tell them to breathe because I didn't know better, like you were talking about. But I just felt like, are these the gifts that that I'm supposed to be sharing with the world? Well, sure enough, 4.5 years, um, ding, I got kicked out, got laid off, and I realized it right away. Oh, I should have left there about 18 months ago, but I really wasn't paying attention to my soul's goals or to my essence or to spirit, to the messages and the feelings that were saying, go on, it's time, it's time. And so that was how I started my first business.
Mhm.
And I started that business doing what I had been doing, but as a consultant. And so that went great for a while. And I was so thrilled because I really felt like I was in flow. I was where I was supposed to be. Like this is the destiny. I didn't
Mhm.
feel that tug of
Mhm.
fate anymore.
Mhm.
And then the market shifted and business dropped off and ding, got kicked out again. And so there ensued a few uncertain years, but I figured out, and this is all part of my more woo education and that came up about that same time, about 25 years ago. And I figured out that when that happens, that's because you haven't been staying in alignment with your soul's goals or with spirit, with essence of what you came here to do at this time. And that's
Yeah.
why I call myself the destiny coach. And I think I'm going to start a movement, the destiny movement, where we all talk about aligning with our true purpose. And the thing is, you have to know that you don't just have one purpose. You get to choose, like if you get kicked out, then you can say, okay, so what are the talents that I brought into this life? Which ones turn me on right now? And
Mhm.
how can I use those in service for money or not?
Well,
Right?
like you're bringing up a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome.
I am.
Um, because I always said if I kept on working in corporate and they paid me for all the work I did in the talk rooms, I would be a multimillionaire.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They paid me for my job.
Right.
So
Right. Oh, I know. And for
also
me,
for
I
my
think I make
last,
less
for
than the
my,
men.
yeah, like so for my last corporate position, I kept on walking to the building going, wrong building, right initials. And I went, what the heck does that mean? Right. So this
Mm-hmm.
is 3 weeks into a 4.5 year stint. And I'd walk into the building and I'd be like, I liked all the people I worked with. We had a great time. It was called Trans Canada. My
Oh,
business is
okay.
Transition Clarity,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? It took me a long time, but like how you were saying, you got the kick out, but you knew 18 months ahead.
Well, no, I looked back. I looked back and went, oh yeah, I should have left there because I wasn't growing. I was
Well,
stagnating. I should have
I know,
left.
but in 3 weeks
Yeah,
after taking it, I was like, I'm not supposed to be here.
you knew. And how long
What?
were
It
you
was in
there?
my journal. I
Yeah.
wrote it. I said, I love who I work with. I like how this company runs because I've been in oil and gas all my life, right? And
Ah,
I've really felt like this is home. This feels home. And I'm like, but it's not. 3 weeks in. So 4.5 years later, I'm like, finally, give me my package, let me go. And um, yet it taught me so much
yeah, right.
because ultimately my podcast is authentic conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me to find the authentic conversations. It taught me that the job really wasn't for me. But at lunchtime, I got a book club going because I like reading books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And you like discussing them.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
want that deep connection. And
Yeah.
and so this is where doing the work I do is getting that deep connection with self, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as a medium, right? It's like people are so attached to the body. The body part of us is a blip.
Mm-hmm.
It's the soul that never dies. The soul never leaves. Right? And as you were saying the story about having the mother-in-law under the bed, like three is too much. Right?
Unless you're into that. I mean, I don't
Well,
judge.
no, I know, but that's three
Yeah.
aware, awake people.
Right.
Um, and so it's understanding that the time we have this earth suit is like a drop in the ocean. But we also have to remember while we're in this earth suit, we are whole and complete as the drop of the ocean.
Yes. Yes. I love that Rumi quote.
Yeah.
You're not a drop in the ocean. You're the ocean in a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's wonderful. So now I'm going to ask you about mediumship because I have friends in the UK
Hmm.
who talk about mediumship as being a way to communicate with spirit, with the energy of the universe, and so forth. Whereas I think of mediumship as talking to dead people, and that's what I
Yeah.
do. Now,
Yeah.
I also do the other kind. I just don't call it that. I call that being psychic or being intuitive.
Hmm.
But I don't need any tools or anything. I just tune in and ask, and there it is, because the information is all connected. It's all connected, and so you just have to tap into it. Just go like, oh, here, oh, there's Adele. Okay, so tell me about Adele.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 it all comes in. So how do you look at mediumship, and what does that mean to you? How do you define it?
Um, I personally say I'm intuitive rather than medium.
Okay.
In saying that, they're all labels that we can just get rid of,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
So if I have a
I agree.
client who just lost a parent or dog, like, well, for instance, I was networking the other day and I'm talking to this young lady and we're having a great time and all of a sudden it's just like, are you open to a message? And she's like, okay. And her dog came through and she's just
Oh,
like, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm sorry. And she goes, it's okay. I was like, she was waiting for it, but she didn't know how she was going to get it.
yeah,
And the emotions came up, right?
yeah,
And so am I a medium? No. Do I get messages? Yes. But it
yeah,
doesn't matter if they're living, dead, whatever, the message will come.
yes, yes. I
And
understand what you mean. In the
well
same
and
way that I talk to the dead people, but I also commune with all the energy,
well
and
yeah,
and so
because
yeah, it's all connected.
I was listening to Sheila Gillette the other day who channeled Theo. Um
Okay,
next
I'm
to
writing that down.
next to Edgar Casey, she was like the next big person that I knew channeled. She taught
Okay,
a lot of the channels, like Abraham, right? How
okay,
to do it, right? And
cool.
she basically said, like the message from Theo was, um, we don't care who you think you're talking to, we're all here at all times
Yes,
to us.
absolutely, absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense to me
Yeah.
in the way that I have experienced it, um, and the evidence and the divine downloads and all the thousands of dead people I've talked to. I mean, they will come through for me for my clients being very specifically them sharing with me
Mm-hmm.
their earth suit personality,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. And I think the personality is part of the consciousness as well. But mainly when I talk to my clients' late loved ones, the main thing that they need is to know that their loved one is okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that there is life after death. That those are the two main things. And when I first realized I was a medium and was doing this for for real, instead of just having like these strangers in my head all the time. Um, then I was surprised that people wondered if they were okay. Is she happy? Is she okay? Is she mad at me? And see, none of that fit with my philosophy of what goes on after life and um, life after life, or life after death. Um,
Well, there is no
so,
death.
so right, right.
There's just
Not
a
of the
letting go
spirit.
of the earth suit.
Yes, exactly. Setting aside the earth suit for the next time. But they're all happy to a person. And I will often use the word heaven just because it's easy,
Mhm,
because people know what that means.
mhm,
But I sometimes say the other side or the afterlife or the spirit realm
mhm,
because it is not earth, it is not physical. And
mhm,
so sometimes to interpret that can be tricky. But yes, they're all happy. I mean, that's the thing, and I remember years ago somebody being really concerned because their loved one died by suicide. Even the suicides get to go to the happy place,
mhm,
and so that, to me, I've figured out that's what people need to know the most. And the rest of it is window dressing. I mean, they
mhm,
do want to know that it's really their dad or their mom or whatever.
mhm,
And so I like to give them some sort of identifying thing and a message if there is one beyond hello, I'm fine, I love you, that kind of
mhm.
thing.
Well, and that's
Um,
where the personality comes in because
yes.
their dad goes and it's like he always did this one thing that just drove the family nuts, and you'll mention it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You'll say, "Well, I'll just double check that this is your dad. He always did that," and then everyone starts laughing. Yep, that's dad.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah.
changed,
That's
right?
right. That's right. And they do give things like that. Oh, I had a reading myself from a medium, and I just remembered this. I totally forgot. My father died in 2020,
Mm.
and the medium said, "I feel like he was funny. He was a stand-up comic." And so, yeah, he was funny. He was always funny. And
Yeah.
so that was really helpful for me. And it can really make a difference uh in a grief journey, in a person's grief journey in this
Mhm.
life. I have a crazy story that it's a little
Okay.
bit involved, but I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
This lady wasn't even a client. She was she was a schoolmate. I went to
Mhm.
school with her, but I didn't really know her in high school. I knew
Mhm.
who she was. I remember her name, but I went to a really big high school. And so, gosh, at one of our reunions, the 30th reunion, I saw her and she was with some other people, and I wound up just talking with her for a while. Well, she had a daughter who had been in a wreck, a
Mm.
bad wreck, a traumatic brain injury, and the daughter never was able to speak after the wreck, and but she did have somehow they had a computer where she could communicate some, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that was by eyes or how she did it. I don't know, buttons. I don't know. But so she was still in there, but of course, she was very different. And so the mom, I'll call the mom Jane, and I'll call the daughter Linda. Okay, so Jane, um, later she was on Facebook and said that her daughter had passed. And I was like, oh, that's so heartbreaking, and it was horrible for her to take care of her for 8 years in a coma. Well, she was in a coma for several months, and then she was at home but disabled for the next 7 years. So one day, shortly after I found out that Linda had died, I felt like Linda was telling me she wanted to dictate a letter to her mother.
Mm.
So Jane was not my client.
Mhm.
I didn't know her very well. She had
Mhm.
told me about her daughter's accident. She didn't tell me very much about her daughter.
Mhm.
I mean, I did not know these people intimately at all.
Mhm.
And so I sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote by hand. I do remember that. And Linda dictated this letter to me. And I wrote a letter to go with it. Now, now Jane had talked to me in fairly religious terms. She's pretty religious, and she still is. I saw her a few months ago. She's still pretty religious. Um, and so I really wasn't sure how she would, take this from a medium, like she might just go, oh, you're the devil, get out. So I wrote a letter explaining what this was. And then I hung on to it and I was like, I don't think the time's right yet, you know. Ran into Jane at the DMV getting our licenses renewed. And I said, oh, I'm glad I ran into you. Give me your address. I have something to send you. And I just knew that the time would be right, you know, and so she was like, really, you just got something to me? I was like, yeah, I'll just send it to you. Give me your address. So I got her address, and whenever it was that I sent it to her, I sent it to her. Okay. Fast forward 10 years. I never heard anything from her. Unless she may have like sent me a message on Facebook, thanks for the letter or something. I don't know. I don't remember anything. Fast forward 10 years, we were at another classmate, mutual friend's funeral. A friend of ours died.
Oh.
So there was Jane. And she said, oh, I'm so glad to see you. I have told that story 100 times. I bet I've told it 100 times. I said, what story? She said, you know, about the letter that you sent me. I was like, I don't know what you're talking. You don't know? And she went to her husband. She doesn't know about the letter. He's like, oh my gosh, she tells this story all the time. And I was like, you're kidding. I'm getting chills talking about it because when she told me about it, it makes me cry because it's so powerful. So she said, okay, first you need to know that at the time you sent me the letter, and I hadn't seen her, I don't know anything. She said, at the time I sent you the letter, I was feeling really guilty because I could not remember my daughter's voice. She hadn't spoken since the accident. And that had been a long time ago. And she said, I was feeling really, really guilty. Like, what a bad mom. I can't even remember my daughter's voice. And she said, I hadn't told anybody that, but I was carrying this guilt. And so she got the letter, and the letter said, I don't remember the whole thing. In fact, when she brought this up, at first, I didn't even remember having sent the letter. It took a while for me to remember that I sat down and dictated that. I mean, took the dictation of that letter. Okay. So the letter said something about Dear Mama. And she said that was the first clue that this was real. She said she never called me mama unless she wanted something or was being real sweet. So that was
Like
like
a true Texan. I gotta be real sweet.
Mama. Actually, I call my mother mother and my father daddy. Mother and daddy. That's how we did in my family. Anyway, then I had said some things about something about heaven. They had talked a lot about what heaven was like, and she said, "Oh, it's really beautiful." And Jane always wanted to know if her dogs went to heaven. She said, "Yes, there are animals here. The dogs are here. They even have lop-eared bunnies." Well, this to me, I'm like, I'm just taking dictation. I have no idea. They even have lop-eared bunnies. Okay. Turned out that when Linda was little, she would go to a friend's house where they had a whole bunch of animals and they had lop-eared bunnies. And Linda would come home and ask her mom if she could have one. And her mom always said no. So to say they even have lop-eared bunnies was a big hit. That was just like, whoa, okay. And then there was some other stuff. I don't remember. There was something about Linda's sister. That was Jane's other daughter. And then she said, look for the bear with two hearts. Okay. She didn't even know what that meant, but she told her other daughter. And so one day she went over to her other daughter's house, and her other daughter said, Mom, come in here and sit down. I've got something. So she pulled out the Build-A-Bear that Linda had made for her they did sister bears and traded them. And so there was the sister with Linda's Build-A-Bear. And she said, look, it had two hearts. She had put in two hearts when she made it. And it had a voice recording. Yes, yes. Where Linda had recorded a message. I mean,
You can't make this stuff up.
it was so powerful to hear that from her. But and I just burst into tears. I just couldn't believe it. But for her, later when I told my therapist, and yes, my therapist actually believes I can do this, she said, you changed that woman's grief journey. She could still be here 10 years later feeling horrible because she couldn't remember her daughter's voice. And not only that, but now she knows her daughter is in what they consider heaven, that she's happy, that things are good, and it's okay. So that's one of the most powerful stories that I've got about what can happen when you are able to communicate with those on the other side. And that's why the work that we do is important.
Well, and
Um,
I
Go
I
ahead.
just want to say a little caveat to that because it's like about finding our own truth, right? We have all been conditioned from our ancestors' DNA. And so when you're talking about, well, we're here to be safe, we're here to, and lately I've been doing my own journey of that's not safety to me. Like what I was being brought down from generations to generations as a female is stagnation of you're
Ah,
less than, that you can't
yes,
have dreams, that,
yes.
and it's just like, oh, clear that now,
Right, right. Well, now see
right?
that I didn't say that your subconscious was right,
Well, I know,
keeping you in
but
what's familiar. I mean, it's not always what we want, but that's the reason that's the explanation for why people grow up uh, from an abusive household to create their own abusive family. You
well, and
know,
I think that's the other side of like the beautiful work both of us do is that getting people to see the truth in the dysfunction. Like
yeah,
like
yeah.
you were listening to your intuition by saying this letter's not going to land. I'll just tuck it away. Like it's written, it's good.
Yeah,
If it never goes, whatever. But if it goes, that's okay,
I'll know when to send
right?
it.
And
Mhm.
universe divinely stepped in and says, now. And you went, okay.
Send it now. Yeah. Yeah, it was just a few months, I think, but it was interesting that I would run into her at the DMV. I mean,
Well,
just
her
it
daughter
was
was in a car accident.
yeah,
Of course, you're going to run into her in a D&B.
never thought about that. I'm going to tell her
Uh,
that. I'm going to
yeah.
tell her that. That is crazy. Yeah,
Because it makes sense.
it
You go
makes
back
so much sense.
to the intersection of what will align the best for the story. Or that's how I see it, right?
Hmm.
Um, I do have an odd question. Why are
Yeah.
you leaving Texas to go to Michigan?
Oh, that's a
There's
great question. Actually, we're going to Illinois. Um,
Illinois.
the reason is that my mom is old and my sister has a job in St. Louis that she can't leave. We're going to be in the St. Louis suburbs on the other side of the river in Illinois. It's the same area. So my mom was living 80 miles from me here in Texas, and 80 miles was really too far for me to be able to take care of her if she got sick or hurt, which
Okay.
I should say when, because it's going to happen eventually, unless she just, is one of those lucky people who just wake up dead one day. So
And project that.
yeah, yeah, true, true.
Yeah.
So we decided as a family that we all needed to live in the same area. Now my husband is from Illinois, and
Mm,
his two of his children and their children live about 3 hours from where we're going to live in Illinois. So, and then his other child, and they've got a baby on the way. They're another 3 hours from there. So it's just going to work out really well. The only thing is, I'm leaving behind one of my daughters who's going to be here in Texas, her children. But that's okay. We can visit. We can fly.
yeah.
It's okay.
Well,
So
it's
I'm
just
excited about
like
it.
it was more of the you're leaving the warmth to go the cold. That's usually not how it goes. Usually you leave the cold to go to the warmth.
If you're from the warmth, you go to the cold. I'm sick of the heat. And I tell you what, look
Oh,
at
that's
me. I mean, this
interesting.
is, yeah. Oh gosh, yes. I'm a seventh generation Texan, but my ancestors were clearly Vikings, British. I am not physically made to withstand this kind of heat, and I do fall out. I'll get heat illness really quick. So
That's
it doesn't take long at all before I'm like, oh, I need to sit down, and sometimes it takes me a day to recover. So it really, yeah, because I'm a delicate flower. I'm just
well,
such a
and it's
delicate
funny
little
because
flower.
like
Get the sun
I'll
salts.
say I can handle -30 and I
Yeah,
can handle +30. It's this in
I
between
don't
rainy
think
crap.
I
I
don't
can't.
think I don't think I can handle -30.
It's
But
beautiful.
where we're gonna live, it has four seasons, and the winters are, you would consider them very mild, but cold enough that I can wear sweaters
They're
and boots.
damp in
So
Illinois. They're damp.
not too bad. Not in
Oh,
Southern Illinois by St. Louis. I've been up there quite
okay.
a bit. And no, the winters are not bad. They get a few snows, and then it kind of clears up, and it's cold, and it can be kind of bleak, but it can
Yeah.
also just be regular pretty days. And so
Yeah.
I'm really
And that's
excited
what
about
I say to people. Like I had my friend's daughter, she was like 10 or something, and she goes, "What do you do when it's -30?" And I said, "Put on my coat and go play in the snow." You're
it. Yeah,
nuts. And I'm like,
yeah,
it's beautiful because it's big blue skies and no
yes.
one's walked on
And
the snow
there's that
yet.
magic feeling of it. It
Mm-hmm.
sparkles and it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go and break through the crust,
Yeah.
and it's fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I haven't experienced a lot of snow in my life, and I might get sick of it. I mean, I may be eating these words later, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I've been up there enough that I've seen the fall foliage that we really
Mm.
get very little of here. I've I've been through some of the winters, and yeah, it's cold, but it's not horrible. Last year they did have a really bad cold snap where it got down to about zero. But that's real unusual. So
And
I
those,
think
you plan around those days and stay home. Make
yeah,
soup,
why not?
right?
I work from home anyway. Okay, I have one more question about you and me actually, and then I'm gonna draw us a good news card and close, and then maybe you and I can stick around and just finish up our appointment. Um, so I'm moving,
Mhm.
and I want to know if you do what you do remotely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what would you do if I'm moving? What would you recommend that I get you to do for me? Should we clear everything here and clear again up there, or how should we do it?
Um, it's a nice gesture to clear the house you're leaving
Oh, uh-huh.
for the
Okay.
new people coming in. I would always clear the house you're moving to.
Okay. Now, when we moved in here 7 years ago, I went through and smudged the whole house with white sage. And I got into those corners, and there was only one place where I felt like, oh, there's something stuck in that corner. I'm going to get that real good.
Mhm.
But the rest of the house actually felt pretty clear. And so that was good. I don't know what had happened before we moved in. It was vacant for a while. So that's one thing to do. But then you come in and you pick up on things that are there that we don't have any way of knowing, right?
Well, but it's also like, so you, obviously you've had kids, so you understand my analogy. Men don't, but that's okay. Um, I consider it like when you're in that last stage of pregnancy and you go into nesting phase, right? See, you get it.
Sure.
So basically, what I like how I'm seeing it is clearing the house that you're moving into as part of your nesting.
Okay. Gotcha.
Your
Like,
your intention is going ahead of you. You're setting your intention of what words, what feelings, what you want to create in this new home, in this new space. And so when you go there with the moving truck behind you, you open the door and you're like, ah,
we're home. Yeah.
we're home.
Yeah.
You get the hug. You put your furniture in the oasis that was waiting for you.
Oh, very cool. I love it.
Ooh,
Okay,
I
I
just
hope I
got
get to do
chills.
that. Now, I know, me too. I have been looking at houses online for months now. We're just waiting for our house to sell. And there is a house that actually my daughter came across it, and I instantly felt like that was my house. Now it is under contract, but I can't I still it's still my house. So I'm real interested to see what's going to happen. I have
It falls
fallen in love
through.
with a couple of houses up there, but this one feels like mine. Sorry, what did you say?
It's gonna fall through for them.
I've seen that happen. This house, that happened in this house. We were waiting for a counter offer. We didn't put in an offer, and we were waiting to hear back. And the guy took a cash offer, threw us out, and we were just like, "Arr." But then all three of us, my younger daughter lives with us, and we were all like, we're still going to get that house. And I even gave my husband a reading, and his late father said, he was asking about the house, and his father said, quit worrying about the house. You got the house. Okay. You know, like he wanted to go on and talk about other things. Yeah, you've got quit work. And sure enough,
And
it's
that's what
like
I'm saying. Like,
6 to 8 weeks, it came back
hello,
on the
do you know
market.
how
Fell.
many of us are here helping you?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, you know, I just keep thinking, okay, I look at other houses and I'm like, that's nice, you know? So
Yeah.
it's very,
No,
very
and it's
fun.
and it's still like it's like when you're going for a job, right? Like just because you put in an application and you had an interview doesn't mean you're hired. You keep looking.
Mhm, mhm.
So you keep
Oh,
looking.
deals fall through all the time. In fact, I was talking to our realtor here who's helping us sell this house, and there's a house around the corner that has had two offers on it and both fell through. So it's back on the market, you know, within a very short period of time. And so it was kind of reinforcing that knowledge that I had. So that's
And
very.
everything's really chaotic in the US because of your election.
Tell me about it. We're moving to a Democrat state. Now, the area we're living in is very conservative, but the governor and the senators and the state legislature are all Democrats. So I'm like, you know, we're all like
See, and
go to these
so
last bastions of liberalness, you know.
and well and I say this gently for whoever's listening.
Out of love, I hope.
Vote for the light.
Vote for the light. I love that.
So
Vote
whoever
for
the
the light.
light is for you, vote for the
Vote
light.
for the light. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think I will not be voting for the criminal who is probably insane. So anyway, but that's just I'm going to leave it there. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with a couple of things. One is I want to invite you and others to take part in a destiny diagnostic with me. It's just a 20-minute brief call, and we dig deep very quickly. I ask you a few questions and then tune into what your next step ought to be with regard to some area of your life. I do work with a lot of women entrepreneurs. So sometimes it's about your business, and it all comes back to where you are in alignment and out of alignment. So I'm kind of a destiny chiropractor in that way. All right, so that's it. You'll find me on the web at mojomedium.com, and you can email me mojomedium@gmail. And I'm on all the social media, well, most of them, and every social medium I am at the Mojo Medium. Simple. Okay, these are some oracle cards that I created. I was guided to create these years ago when one too many persons asked, what bad thing do I need to look for? What do I need to get ready for? And I'd be like, okay, that's enough. Because when you look for the bad, you can find the bad. And when you look for the good, guess what? So each of these cards bears a word or phrase that is good news and good news only. That's
Okay.
why I call them the good news only cards. And I haven't had a chance to redesign these to go with my new branding. So I'm going to pull a card, and if you have your own deck of good news only cards, you can pull a card and see how it applies to your day, you know, look for that good thing. But if it's also a good way to start uh, figuring out how to tune into spirit for yourself. Any angel cards will do that for you. It's a really good way to kind of validate your own ideas and feelings that might be going on. And, you know, should I do this? And that kind of thing. But with these, I like to give you an interpretation of what it means. Look at that.
Happy
Adele, what have we been talking about?
homes, making them
I,
happy.
yeah, just wow. I just got to chill with this. I mean, that's one of the most pointed ones I've ever gotten. Okay, let's see what we've got for you. Well, okay. So anybody who's seeing this, and when this is for you, whenever you may see it, because that's how things work, past, present, future. You're seeing this, now you can contact Adele so that you
Yeah,
can have a happy home.
make a happy home.
And so the good news is you found Adele. Let's see if there's anything else that goes with it. Okay, so what I'm getting is I'm seeing you, and that means whoever I'm talking to, coming home and sort of slamming the door like really put out. And the good news is that when you come home, there's a really nice thing waiting for you, like your spouse or your child has cooked dinner, or you come home and there's a present for you. So it's something like that that's a happy home. And brings you back to your good mood. It brings you back to feeling like, I'm glad to be home. Okay. So that's something good to look forward to in the next few days to a week. And I hope you will tune in to Wednesdays next time. And oh, let's see, do we have a special guest host next week? No, we don't. But in 2 weeks, we've got a special guest host. So that's going to be fun. If you have a business in the transformation arena and you would like to be a guest co-host with me, then definitely email me, mojomedium@gmail.com, and let's get you on the calendar. All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate everybody. Adele, you hang around for just a minute. I'm going to stop the recording.